on and move up and move out. All he can keep on doing is trying to win the championship and to score the points. So the car's released onto their warming up lap. It will be a grid start. No indication of it being a safety car start, so it'll be the formation lap. And we'll be able to assess on this lap exactly where the wetter parts of the road are. The grid complete. Nobody starting, as I can see from the pit lane, and looking down as the cars go past our window. I've not yet found anybody on wets, but even though the track is going to be slippery over the last few minutes while the cars have been on the grid, the road has dried out a little bit more anyway. So with an element of caution, slick's the way to go. So contemplate this: Spa, wet, slicks, and then think back to how they drove at Monza. What could go wrong?
You're being too provocative, and
Sorry.
unnecessarily so.
I'll get my coat.
It's going to be a fantastic race, and as you say, looking back to last year, you know, we had 3 superb races.
Yeah.
So,
and this is where a lot of it happened. This is the run up towards Les Combes, and it was there that you can slipstream, and if you can make the move going into Les Combes, then you're well set. And I remember being here years ago for a British Formula 3 round, supporting the Spa 24 Hours, where Jean-Éric Vergne did all of his passing there.
yes.
And he said after the race that he'd actually sat behind cars for the other bit of the lap, knowing that if you made the move there on the slipstream, they couldn't fight back through Les Combes, but they couldn't fight back through the next couple of corners, and you were away and got the break. And it was that intelligence that marked him out, and other drivers last year were doing it as well. A recap of how we line up: Felix Rosenqvist then on pole, Jake Dennis second, Antonio Giovinazzi third, Fittipaldi, Massano, Leclerc, Alex Albon one to watch because he's at the back of the grid for races 2 and 3, Ferrucci, Ilott, Pommer to round out the top 10. Others to look for: Mikkel Jensen, he's on pole for race 2 of the weekend, but he's 12th on this grid. Lance Stroll one to watch from 14th, Max Günther disappointing qualifying 17th, and Gustavo Menezes, who bagged pole position for race 2 here last year, languishing 18th on the grid. Tatiana Calderon is 20th. It was here she was 5th last year, her best finish. Alessio Lorandi could be one to watch because he's had good days and bad days. And Arjun Maini, somebody else that looked pretty strong at Monza, has gone well at a number of new circuits, but he is a long way back on the grid, 29th, in number 29 for this race. Let's see what progress he can make. And Julio Moreno had a pretty dreadful qualifying session, and despite, you can see how far off the pace he was, he has been given dispensation to start, but from the back of the grid. So that's how they line up. We are set then for this 13th round of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship as the cars work their way through Blanchimont, and a spin for Sergio Sette Camara, and to have a spin and then force people off the road as you rejoin on the warming up lap is deeply, deeply unimpressive, I'm afraid. What he didn't want to do was let everybody go past him, and then he'd have to start at the back of the grid.
Yeah.
But with all due deference to a driver who's well fired up, rejoining like that and forcing somebody else off the circuit, I don't think actually is that wise. So it might be that Sergio finds himself going to see the stewards post-race. However,
well, we might get to see that again. I wonder whether he was just testing the limits of grip a little bit too much, and that was why. Here we go.
He's all locked up. What he's done is come out of the corner and welly it, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's just broken away. And it does show that the road is deceptively slippery still, because that was almost in the sunshine and it looked pretty dry. So up to the grid they come. You can see where the wet parts of the road are. Jake Dennis is going to start on a wetter side of the circuit. 15 laps are in prospect. Hold your breath. This is going to be very leery for the first lap, I would suggest, as Felix Rosenqvist then, the Swedish driver, slots into place on pole position. Jake Dennis with him at the front of the grid. The second row, Antonio Giovinazzi and Pietro Fittipaldi, moving up from Formula Renault to Formula 3 as soon as the last car is in place, which is going to be that of Julio Moreno, the Ecuadorian. We're going to be good for race 1 of the weekend. Nervous faces at Muka Motorsport. The man from the Dallara Spares department's got his order book out already because he knows that this could be quite a lively first few corners. La Source is always a big pinch point, the hairpin, and as the course vehicle slots into place at the back of the grid, Marshall with green flag is about to show that. That's the indication that everybody is back from the warming up lap. 5 lights will go red when the lights go out. We're racing. Good start by Rosenqvist. Good start by Giovinazzi, who gets an absolute stormer from the second row of the grid. Goes round the outside into La Source, and Giovinazzi has done it in advance of the braking area. Excellent start. Jake Dennis down in third. He's got Leclerc trying to come round the outside, and there's a spin in the middle of the pack already as the cars dive downhill for the first time. Everybody has managed to avoid the errant car, which is facing the wrong way, which looks like Matt Rao. 16 laps we've been given as the distance, not 15 as published, and already we've got Alessio Lorandi under investigation. So 16 laps, uphill they go for the first time, and an absolutely fantastic start by Giovinazzi. And look, he's trying to break the slipstream effect from Felix Rosenqvist as up the inside of Jake Dennis tries to come Charles Leclerc. But Giovinazzi, what, 3 lengths clear already, heading into Le Mans for the first time. Mega effort, that.
That was a brilliant start, wasn't it, from Giovinazzi, as we see a big lock up there, and one is off, and off is Gustavo Menezes. And, yeah, the Giovinazzi start, phenomenal. I disagreed marginally with you. I didn't think Rosenqvist did get a brilliant start.
Certainly Jake Dennis seemed to get bogged down a little bit. However, whoops, more strife in the background there, going through Brazil. 2 ran wide into one another. Out of Speaker's Corner they come, down to Pouen. It is very definitely Giovinazzi getting away. Now you're starting to see who the brave drivers are, maximising this on cold tyres, because, of course, they're not up to temperature. Big slide by Callum Millett on the back of George Russell. 2 Carlin cars, different liveries. So Giovinazzi leads. Second is Rosenqvist. Third is Dennis. In 4th place, it's Charles Leclerc. Gap back. 5th, you've got the next to the Prema Power Team cars, Brandon Marsano it is, as there you've got Raul Hyman trying to fend off the pack as they work their way through the pith path for the first time. So Antonio Giovinazzi tries to make good his escape, and thus far it's working well for him, isn't it, as the cars work their way now through Campus up towards the Cours Paul Frere and then up towards Blanchimont. Speed building, but a superb first lap this by Giovinazzi, because importantly he's been able to make the break.
Absolutely, and well, Giovinazzi doing a great job there. And thankfully, so far, it's perhaps looked a little less damaging than we thought and we feared it might right at the start of this race. Through the chicane they come then. And it will be 1 lap completed of the 16 that are on the top of the screen for you. Giovinazzi from Rosenqvist, Dennis, then it's Leclerc, Marsano, Paul is P6 with Ferrucci 7, Albon 8.
And a lock up there, heading down towards Vasseurs from Fittipaldi. Heroics from Callum Millett to go ahead of George Russell up on the inside. What you don't know is whether he's run wide out of the corner, and he has, and so George Russell goes back ahead of him. That's the battle for 9th and 10th places, the 2 Carlin cars, with Mikkel Jensen getting into the mix as well. But I reckon that Rosenqvist is closing. Yes, he is. On the race leader, Antonio Giovinazzi. They're almost nose to tail, heading up towards Les Combes, and a big slide there from Max Günther. Coming up Radion, here for the race lead. Rosenqvist gets the draft, gets the job done on the inside. Rosenqvist goes through up to Les Combes. And Giovinazzi hasn't got enough track space there to fight back, because he's got to turn in. And look, it's 4 for the race lead, because Dennis and Leclerc are joining the party as well now. Callum Millett is off the road. One of the Nooker Motorsport cars has gone with him as well. I suspect it was Mikkel Jensen who was next in the queue, and if he measured his braking against Illett, he'll have got it wrong as well.
Yes. So, as you said, the
Sam McLeod gets turned around by Ryan Tweeter. That was a little bit clumsy, wasn't it, there? Thankfully, McLeod is able to rejoin. He's lost ground, but no damage done. I'm surprised about that. A replay of how the move came for the race lead. Rosenqvist teed that up beautifully, didn't he? He got the run out of Eau Rouge. He was in the slipstream, and Giovinazzi just knew he was powerless. What he's got to do is stay on the back of Rosenqvist for a lap and try and reverse the manoeuvre.
Yes. And that was a replay of that, as you correctly said, slightly clumsy incident, wasn't it? Yeah,
Tweeter missed the apex completely, and the only way he was going was towards Sam McLeod. So frustration for McLeod, the Brit back on, but yeah, Ryan Tweeter, I would think, has a case to answer there. And we've also had news that Lance Stroll is under investigation for pushing another car. Alex Albon trying to find a way past here. Look, it's Santino Ferrucci who gives him no room. Alex Albon stays in the wheel tracks as they work their way up towards the bus stop. This is for 7th place. Fittipaldi just up the road ahead of them. Into the braking area they come.
Lance Stroll has been investigated and gets a drive-through penalty, David.
OK, interesting. So Stroll will drop down the order. Pushing another car. Haven't been told whom, but the drive-through, as Dave Richardson says, is the penalty given to Lance Stroll. Big lock up there, heading into La Source. That was Fabio Schiller. Callum Illett, after his moment at Les Combes, is down in 14th place now, and he's got the Westech cars around him. He's got Schiller ahead. There's also Alessio Lorandi trying to join that party as well in the Euro International car. Now, it is Rosenqvist, the race leader. Giovinazzi running in that 2nd spot. Jake Dennis 3rd. Leclerc 4th. Marsano 5th. And Giovinazzi tries the outside line at Les Combes, but gets run out of road there. can't find a way through. And the danger is that Jake Dennis now gets closer to him.
Yeah, Jake Dennis right on the back of him now, but equally Leclerc right on the back of Dennis also. So those four really fighting there, aren't they? And of course, it's all playing into the hands of Rosenqvist, who's able to get away. Black and white flag being shown to Santino Ferrucci for a dangerous manoeuvre.
Which was forcing Alex Albon off the road, wasn't it? So I think that's a pretty fair decision. Alex Albon will probably agree. Now, Charles Leclerc has done the best middle sector of anybody in the race best first sector of anybody in the race thus far, as he tries to get onto the back of Jake Dennis. Antonio Giovinazzi's move that did not come off up at Les Combes now indicates that he's falling away. And so Felix Rosenqvist has got a bigger margin now as the cars work their way from the pith path down towards campus and then up towards the Cours Paul Frere. Replay of the start. Have a look at Giovinazzi, because in theory this should have had the job done for him. He was away like a robber's dog, wasn't he, from the second row of the grid, round the outside of Rosenqvist, and look, pulls it across, defends and gets the racing line and slows it down on the damp track all before the first corner. Trouble is he never got away, and then there was that tag that turned Marcus Pommer, in fact it was, around 34, not Matt Rao, apologies. Marcus Pommer was the one that got tagged at the first corner. Charles Leclerc, you can see, getting closer again to Jake Dennis. Now, what about the gap between the race leaders? As they come over the timing line, it's 0.6 of a second that time around. Yeah, Rosenqvist did lap the quicker of the two, but Giovinazzi should be able, with the benefit of a slipstream, to get back onto terms. As there, look, Fittipaldi now has to defend from Santino Ferrucci, who gets forced out wide, and here comes Alex Albon up the inside. Albon goes through as they come past the old pits, then plunging downhill, heading towards Eau Rouge. Sharp intake of breath, foot to the boards, pull it uphill. Alex Albon is on a mission, isn't he now, because he's got past Ferrucci and he's going to make a move on Fittipaldi. Here he comes up the outside. Has he gone too soon? Let's see. For third place there, overlapping as well. Charles Leclerc on the outside of Jake Dennis. Job done. Good move by Leclerc. And where is Albon? He's ahead of Fittipaldi. George Russell is trying to buy into this as well. This is why Formula 3 at Spa works so well.
Absolutely great stuff that we're seeing so far, aren't we?
The nature of the circuit with these slipstreaming opportunities all helps to give good racing. We should have had it at Monza, but it was brain out of gear weekend for them all. Here, excellent driving thus far. There aren't that many silly manoeuvres. We've identified one or two, but largely it's good, pure racing. And in the first sector of this lap, Giovinazzi, quicker than Rosenqvist, got a toe, admittedly, in order to bring down the gap, but he's looking stronger once again. Another driving standards flag. Fittipaldi now pushing another car. You know, I said about no silliness. I'll take it all back, because now perhaps as the race wears on and people are getting more desperate to hang on to places, there's a little bit more angst in the way that the cars are being driven. Mikkel Jensen, best first sector of anybody. Rosenqvist, best middle sector of anybody. Further proof as well that the road is getting drier, so the slick's now definitely working well. And we've still got 13 laps to run, haven't we, as the cars file out of the Cours Paul Frere. A mechanical warning flag, the meatball flag, to Raoul Hyman. I'm not sure for why. We'll need to have a look at the car for that, but as it identifies itself over the timing line next time through, we'll be able to perhaps spot exactly why. It may be that he got involved with Marcus Pommer and has done some damage on the front wing. We'll have to see. Over the line come the leaders then. That lap from Rosenqvist was a 2:12.4, and it was a 2:12.4 from Giovinazzi as well. But he was 0.06 of a second slower as Albon goes up the inside of Brandon Maisano, and that puts Alex Albon up into 5th place, which is looking very good indeed.
It was a lap ago you said Albon is on the charge here, isn't he? He really is. So Albon moves up a further place, heads up Eau Rouge. Don't get the benefit on the TV shots of just how steep that Eau Rouge is. To stand at the bottom of that, it is awe-inspiring, it really is.
Guess you need a beer when you get to the top of it, which is a good thing at Spa. There are friteries and beer shops all around. Alex Albon then keeping Brandon Maisano at bay. Of course, that's the danger. He made the move at La Source, but you could be repassed on that drag uphill, but he was able to defend. So good driving, good defensive driving there. Through the pit lane has come Raoul Hyman. He's had that meatball flag, and whatever the drama was that the scrutineers wanted the team to assess, that has been done by Team West Tech and back into the race. I'll tell you somebody else who's all fired up, and admittedly he will have had a toe uphill, but Sam McLeod in 14th after his spin has done the best first sector of anybody. It is deceptive though, because within that first sector is that slipstream point up to Les Combes. However, he is running strongly in 14th place. He's back ahead of Rd5 as well, his aggressor from earlier on. So up front, Felix Rosenqvist leads the way, but Antonio Giovinazzi has not given up. However, Charles Leclerc, methinks, is the man to watch now, because look at the way he has gapped Jake Dennis. We need to see whether or not the third place driver, the Monegasque, Charles Leclerc, is going to be able to bring down the gap to Giovinazzi. If we can get the three leaders all concertinaing up, then that's going to be very good indeed. Fourth still is Dennis, and then Alex Albon pressing on up into that fifth spot. Maisano has fallen back as well, hasn't he, behind Ferrucci, and he's about to be given a tough time by George Russell, who he's actually going pretty strongly in this race. Started 11th, George up in 8th at the moment, and it could become 7th. To the outside line, into the chicane, into the bus stop he comes. Can he go all the way around the outside into the first part? No, runs out of road. It was a good effort, brave move, but George had to back out of that.
So we'll see now as he heads up towards the source. George Russell, then another one that David has identified, who's having a real charge. So not close enough to be able to do anything, but we'll see and see what progress that George Russell can make. Currently P8.
The cars head uphill then out of Eau Rouge. This is a replay at Raoul Hyman, running wide at Pouon. Whoops, caught the wet curve, and round it went. Years ago, that would have been a monster off on wet grass. Now with a run off tarmac, hooked first, carry on. Not for a moment suggesting it wasn't quite a big moment, but it could have been a lot worse.
So Leclerc then, for my money, is getting ever closer to Giovinazzi. So 2:12.2 last time round, Rosenqvist 2:12.059 from Giovinazzi, but a 2:11.983 from Charles Leclerc. And again, Giovinazzi just absolutely keeping with Rosenqvist and not letting Rosenqvist get away here. So here come the top three then, led by Felix Rosenqvist, Antonio Giovinazzi P2, Charles Leclerc P3, and then Jake Dennis in P4.
There is a driving standards flag being given to Alessio Lorandi. Remember I said at the start he was under investigation. It is all to do with Article 37.6, which, as I'm sure you all know, is to do with how you leave the grid. Either you must go at the pit lane speed limit until you go past pole position, or if you are stalled on the grid, the marshals must push you into the pit lane and you start from there. Now, I wasn't aware that Lorandi had stalled on the grid, and normally we find if that is the case that they get a drive-through penalty, so I think it was the speed at which he left the grid. However, what we are now more concerned with is this lead battle.
I think Giovinazzi is beginning to line up Rosenqvist now, and this has been what have we got? We've got 6 laps left to come, and of course Charles Leclerc is right on the back of them now, so we've got 3 for the lead.
We have indeed. Leclerc is right there as well, and he's the danger in all of this. Giovinazzi then hunting down the leader as they work their way downhill then. 10 laps to run as they head up through Eau Rouge then, as the countdown in terms of laps drops, start at 16. And now, look, Giovinazzi is inching into the slipstream, but the other question is whether Charles Leclerc is close enough. Rosenqvist is trying to break the toe, goes one way. Giovinazzi is there. Can he go round the outside? He's level. He's going to break as late as he possibly can. Yes, fantastic. Giovinazzi right the outside, braked as late as he dared, and he has done it. Back into the race lead goes Antonio Giovinazzi, and what he needs to do now is try and make a break and hope that Charles Leclerc can come and have a real crack at Rosenqvist. Through Bruxelles, wide goes Rosenqvist. Leclerc tries to get his nose up the inside. What a fantastic advert for Formula 3 this is becoming. Downhill towards Pouon now.
Of course, it is. We've still got many more laps to come. I called that completely wrong, and I'm glad I have, because this race is going to go on and on and on, David. And so far, you're absolutely right. What great racing we've seen here. And now Giovinazzi, look at him, he's up the road.
But he's got to do this, because the danger is, as we know, that you've got that lovely slipstream point on the next lap. However, what's going on behind is really crucial to Giovinazzi's race and points tally and championship hopes, because Leclerc is giving Rosenqvist a hard time. Brandon Maisano versus Mikkel Jensen in replay. Into the bus stop. Maisano braked a bit late, understeered out wide. Mikkel Jensen went through, put himself 8th. And Pietro Fittipaldi tries to find a way by as well. This is also the way Giovinazzi took over the race lead. And look at this. Brake as late as you dare, round the outside. I mean, look how close he was to the curb. He didn't have much room to spare in doing that. That was brave stuff. And in fairness to Rosenqvist, he gave him the room.
I was going to say, there was good respect between the two of them, wasn't there, in that move? So Giovinazzi then, as he crosses the line, here comes Felix Rosenqvist, then P2, and Charles Leclerc is going to be the danger now for Felix Rosenqvist, isn't he? And Rosenqvist is in that position, isn't he, where he doesn't want to let Giovinazzi get away, but equally he's got to defend from the charge from Leclerc behind.
But just looking at the gaps as they come out of La Source, I reckon that Rosenqvist is going to be able to tow himself at least closer to Giovinazzi this time, because Leclerc's fallen away, hasn't he? He's not the danger. So have a look at this. Is he in the draft yet? Heading uphill, there comes a point where you get just close enough to the car in front so that its airflow drags you along. That might well be happening for Rosenqvist, but he won't be able to challenge because he gets dragged along, but then you get to the corner. But what he now has got to try and do is stay as close as he can for the rest of the lap. But Leclerc has done exactly the same thing. It's this great cat and mouse situation. Rosenqvist has just done a personal best in the first sector. He was half a second quicker than Giovinazzi because of the tow.
You absolutely got that nailed, didn't you? But Leclerc also did exactly the same on Rosenqvist, didn't he?
Exactly
so
right.
These three together, look at them, they're all gapped almost identical, aren't they?
It's elasticated in a sense, isn't it? But you can see where the hard work comes. After that run up to Les Combes, you try and break away, break that toe, shake off the opposition, and you want to be far enough ahead so the slipstream effect has no benefit on the run up towards Les Combes. It's a bit like Formula 1 and DRS to an extent, isn't it? You know, you want to be away from that range. Drama 4, Tatiana Calderon and Lance Stroll. That is at Bruxelles, no, La Source? Bruxelles it is. And here is the replay. Let's have a look. Lance Stroll from a long way back goes up the inside. Nabil Jeffrey was having his own moment. Yes. Lance, what was all that about? Stroll on. So Tatiana Calderon, I'm afraid, knocked into that moment. Now for second place, nose to tail, into the bus stop, 9 laps to run. The incident between Calderon and Stroll is under investigation. Call Lumby, what a surprise. But for the race lead, heading up towards the timing line, Antonio Giovinazzi, looking for a 3rd win of the season, comes over the timing line. He's clear at the moment. But on that last lap, Rosenqvist actually lapped slightly quicker to chip away at the deficit. What's confusing me a bit is why Jake Dennis is falling away as he is.
Yes, you're right, he is. So Jake Dennis down there in P4. And just looking at the, I mean, he was 2:12.432 was his best, 2:13.318 last time around, so he's losing time, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, Alex Albon is getting closer to him, and there are more battles that haven't yet been resolved. Look, heading down past the endurance pits, the old pits now. You've got the Looker car there, which is Max Günther on the tail of Brandon Maisano, and here they come, and Sam McLeod having a good race as well, isn't he? They're the British driver right with them. Max Günther goes to the outside line. Brandon Maisano sticks out his elbows, but Sam McLeod gets up the inside. They are absolutely free wide into Les Combes. Günther goes through and gets 1 spot. McLeod gets 1 spot as well, and it's Brandon Maisano who falls back 2. McLeod kept on coming, gets forced up the curb, and Ryan Tvita is also now looking the yellow Jaguar I Am car, trying to join this mix as well. Oh, into Bruxelles. And there's a 10-second time penalty being given to Lance Stroll. It's not going to affect life hugely for him in a sense because he's already outside the top 20, but after that contact with Tatiana Calderon, a 10-second penalty to be added to his race time. Alessio Lorandi there tries to go around the outside of Ryan Tvita. A lot's happened in this race.
It has.
And we're not done yet either. So Giovinazzi is the race leader. How are we getting on with Tvita and Lorandi and Callum Illett, who's dropped down the order, hasn't he? Remember how strongly he was going early on, but he's fallen away. Rosenqvist second, the best of the Prema cars. Jake Dennis 4th. He's dropping away. And then you've got Maisano down in 11th for Prema and Lance Stroll for Prema. He's had his dramas, but he's outside the top 20. The point being that Prema potentially struggling here, whether that's on setup, because it's this funny in-between, isn't it? Sort of neither wet, neither dry, fully dry at the moment. It could be that. If they are struggling on setup, then fair play to Rosenqvist, because he is doing a decent job, therefore, of hanging on in there in second spot. So, leaders across the line. Maisano gets it all wrong at the bus stop. That lets Ryan Feeter up past him, and also Max Günther. Leaders go by. 7 laps to run now. And last time around, Rosenqvist was a little bit quicker again than Giovinazzi. Lorandi up the inside of Maisano into La Source, job done. Through he goes, up to 14th place on the inside line there. So Antonio Giovinazzi leads this 13th round of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship from Felix Rosenqvist, from Charles Leclerc, who is not done yet either. Leclerc lapping at the same pace, and look, he is on the tail thanks to a tow heading up to Licon of Felix Rosenqvist. If he can stay with him, he might be able to make a move. Rosenqvist did try for the race lead, look in replay, got himself ahead, and Giovinazzi had to let him go. But what did Rosenqvist do wrong? Ran too deep into the corner, had to come off the power, gather it all up again. Giovinazzi retakes the advantage, and that's another reason why Charles Leclerc was able to buy into it, benefiting from Rosenqvist having to come off the throttle, getting right onto the back of him.
So here the top 3 once again then, just seeing that in replay. And you're right, you know, you can get it and try for your move, but the, you know, going through that turn, that's where, as you say, he had to lift, and that gave the benefit effectively to Leclerc.
Indeed so. And now Giovinazzi has also been able to make hay while the sun shines, so to speak, because he's been able to build up the gap. Jagonia I am with Carl in car, the tasty chicken car, clear up front as the leaders work their way through Blanchimont. Now, how are we getting on for 4th and 5th places? Because Alex Albon is chipping away at Jake Dennis. They're almost together. Look in the background, 4th and 5th. Albon 4th, best result of the year. He could equal that in this race as Charles Leclerc comes then up onto the tail of Felix Rosenqvist. I keep saying it, but what Giovinazzi needs is for Rosenqvist to have to go defensive, because that will slow him up, and therefore it will permit Giovinazzi to build the advantage even more. Into La Source they come, 6 laps to run, and now from Charles Leclerc's point of view there's a little bit more urgency about finding a way by. Also think about this, their lap times are 2 minutes 12s. There are 12 minutes and change on the clock. There are 6 laps to go. Are we going to get all 6 laps in? Is it going to go to time and miss 1 lap? It's going to be close, actually.
Yes.
Now, Leclerc is close enough to get the toe and drag himself up onto the back here of Rosenqvist. I suspect when he gets to the corner it'll be too late, but look behind, Albon's having a go at Dennis.
And look at this. Side by side they go, and Jake Dennis, well, he loses out. Alexander Albon, who, as you had said earlier on, he is one to watch. Absolutely driving like a demon.
And look at the way he's getting away as well. The signature car going very strongly as well. It's in Lotus F1 colours. It's got a Volkswagen engine in the back, and it's powering that car very nicely up front. So Alex Albon goes 4th, and Dennis straight away is falling into the clutches of the pack behind.
Absolutely, and next is going to be Ferrucci, isn't it?
Yeah, and then George Russell. So we're not done yet. 6 laps to go, but a lot can yet shake out of this race, can't it? There is Santino Ferrucci, who, as I think I said on the grid, has had a mixed sort of a season. His best result 4th, only came into Formula 3 midway through last year, but going strongly now and moving up to Muka Motorsport for this season. So Giovinazzi leads the way, and I reckon has done enough now to not have to worry on this lap about Rosenqvist, who has big pressure. And the fact that Charles Leclerc is this close at this point suggests that he might even have a go on the run out of Blanchimont up towards the bus stop. We get a replay here of Giovinazzi just skimming the curb and how the aero takes a pounding through the chicane. But what we want to see is what's going on 2nd and 3rd between Rosenqvist and Charles Leclerc. They were absolutely together. They are still together, and Leclerc's done it. He's round the outside. He's gone 2nd. Can he slow it down in time for the bus stop? Yes. Can he hang on to the place coming out of the corner? Yes. Felix Rosenqvist, who did lead early on, remember, is down to 3rd place now.
What a shame we didn't see that live, because they were absolutely side by side. When we cut back to that, we were watching the replay of Antonio Giovinazzi. And, well, what have we got left? Is Giovinazzi going to have to worry now, David?
Yes.
Okay.
Unquestionably, because Leclerc's car for my money, he's getting stronger as the race wears on. As the road dries, that car is coming to him. I think Van Amersfoort have done something different on setup than Carlin has. And so on that last lap, Leclerc did a 2:11.9. He was half a second quicker than Giovinazzi. Admittedly, some of that was thanks to slipstream. Rosenqvist fights back. Leclerc covers the move. Up towards Lecombe. Inside is Leclerc, number 7 in the black car. Alongside him is Rosenqvist, who goes back ahead. That wasn't in Charles Leclerc's game plan, was it? The slipstream works in favour of Rosenqvist. Charles Leclerc, having done all that hard work, has got to do it all over again. And not only that, they're a bit nearer to Giovinazzi. So Charles Leclerc, having briefly taken second place, has got to tee himself up and try and make the move once more as Lance Stroll comes into the pit lane. And that's his 10-second penalty, as he's serving it as a stop-go with the team. There's a man with a stopwatch overseeing it all. And away he goes. So rather than have it added onto the time, the team elect to take it as a stop-go penalty. Remy Rossan from the team with the stopwatch waves him away. Meantime, back on track, this is one of those Formula 3 races where you want to hide the checkered flag, because so much can still happen within the top 3. We are far from done yet. In the first sector of this lap, Leclerc quicker than Giovinazzi, Rosenqvist quicker than both. In the middle sector of this lap, Giovinazzi much quicker than Charles Leclerc and half a second quicker than Rosenqvist. So I think I said early on the gap was elasticated. It remains that way. Up towards Blanchimont, then the leaders will come now. And Antonio Giovinazzi it is. That doesn't really give you the full story of the race. Look, 3 cars with gaps between them, but we know so much has happened elsewhere and will happen at different points of the circuit. Leclerc closer to Rosenqvist, coming out of the bus stop. Some good late braking there, just bringing him a little bit nearer. Over the timing line they come. And Rosenqvist has just done the absolute best in the last sector. He's done a personal best lap. So the Swede, who really wants to win this race, bearing in mind that 2 of his Monza wins only gave him half points for each of them. Huge frustration in the championship for that score. Rosenqvist wants to take a win out of all of this, and he is inching back up onto the tail of the leader. And especially given that Rosenqvist is 4th and 7th by way of time for races 2 and 3, he knows he needs to maximise this while he's up at the pointy end of the grid. Towards Lecombe they come. In the slipstream is Rosenqvist. Out of the slipstream is Leclerc. So he falls back a little bit this time. They work their way through Lecombe, and 4/10 quicker is Rosenqvist. It's game on again.
Extraordinary how this has been seesawing, isn't it, amongst these 3?
But people say you can't overtake in slicks and wings single-seaters. Well, these 3 have all been overtaken. You know, the lap chart will show how much shuffling there has been up and down that leading trio, and it's been done on racecraft. It's not because people are making mistakes and going off. It's because of the nature of the track and the fact that you can, on a circuit like this, overtake. I know the weather helps a little bit because it's a little bit greasy, and that adds another challenge into it. Alex Albon is another star of this race for my money, and he's not done yet because he is lapping quicker than Charles Leclerc, so he's inching his way into the mix as well. Running in 4th spot as you look at Leclerc through the pith path, then through that right, through that left, and then the short run down towards campus past the educational building on the inside of the circuit, through Cours Paul Frere, then up past the kart track that's on the right hand side. Replay here of more fun and games up at Lecombe, where Kang Ling very nearly found himself accosted by Nicolas Pola. Ling off, Ling on, Julio Moreno off, Julio Moreno on. Dear, that could have been a bit nasty, couldn't it, as they all almost clattered into each other. And Tatiana Calderon gained a place out of all of that by going round the outside of Julio Moreno, so it did shuffle further.
Just a few moments ago they were all gapped. Look at them, how they've all closed up again now.
No, they weren't gapped. No, you're looking at something else, I promise you. Look at this, look how close they are, over the timing line again. And Rosenqvist, look now, has done exactly what he needs to do. He's got himself within striking distance on the run uphill. Look at Leclerc, he's almost in the same situation. So now Rosenqvist has to make a call whether he attacks or defends. He needs to try to shake off Leclerc, but for my money, Charles is the quicker of the 3 this time, going up through Raidillon now. 4th is Albon, 5th is Ferrucci, 6th is Jake Dennis. Another place dropped. Here we go, up towards Lecombe. Is it going to be Leclerc that pulls out of the draft? Sure. Yes! Rosenqvist tries to defend. Giovinazzi defends from both of them. Leclerc tries to find a gap where there is no gap. And Rosenqvist is on the curb and up the escape road. Giovinazzi's off as well. Rosenqvist got onto the wet part of the curb. And Charles Leclerc should come through, I reckon, and take up the lead of the race. Yes, he has. Leclerc benefits from the dramas ahead of him. Rosenqvist second, Giovinazzi third, and he's got a puncture. Giovinazzi's left rear has gone down. He's off the road. Albon's up to third. And Giovinazzi, by going across the curve, has damaged not only the tyre, but he's damaged his race, he's damaged his championship hopes. He's into retirement with 3 laps to go. He's under investigation as well for edging Rosenqvist towards the curb. And Antonio Giovinazzi, after what had been a mighty, mighty drive, is out. Look at his tyres, how flat-spotted they are. Look at all the rubber he's picked up over the course of the race. But it's the left rear that's the tyre that's crucial, because it is as flat as the Greek economy, and that means that he is going absolutely nowhere.
Can we throw any more drama into this?
Well, here's the replay. Leclerc up the inside of Rosenqvist, who then thinks there's a gap on the outside. And Giovinazzi thinks, oh no, you don't. And he puts him up onto the curb. He locks up and skates off the road. Whether there was contact, let's just have another look. Did Rosenqvist clip? Yes, he did. It was contact between the two of them. That's what did for the tyre. That's why Giovinazzi went off, look. Yes. As he turns in, the tyre goes down. So as Rosenqvist goes up the escape road, Giovinazzi, after the contact, has got a punctured tyre. You could argue the bite a bit there, because he was the man that did the squeeze and came off with the most severe damage. And Charles Leclerc is the man with that enormous grin on his face, who thinks, I don't believe that's just happened to me. Thank you very much. Photographers have got a lot to have a look back on at the end of this. And there is Antonio Giovinazzi, who is out of the race. It's only his second retirement of the season. But this, when we look back during the course of race 33 in October at Hockenheim, could well be a race that we refer to for Giovinazzi, because a good points haul, possibly the maximum points haul, has gone begging there.
Well, he is under investigation, and perhaps, as we've seen the replays, there's no surprise in that. And there we can see Giovinazzi getting out of the car. I think you're absolutely right. I think right at the end of the season we'll be talking about this race.
And it's a race that ain't done yet, because Alex Albon is up onto the podium and he's still storming on behind Felix Rosenqvist. We need a shot of Rosenqvist's car just to see if there's any front aero damage after that little touch with Giovinazzi. And George Russell
is pressuring Jake Dennis now.
Absolutely, for 5th. There is Giovinazzi, who got out of harm's way on the way down to the left-hander with no name, Speaker's Corner as it's been dubbed by the Belgian commentary team. And Antonio Giovinazzi watches there. Mikkel Jensen, now running in 7th spot, go through. Giovinazzi will be reported to the stewards, so they will have a look and decide if anything needs to be done. But it could come in the form of a grid penalty, for example, for race 2. And for race 2, he's only 12th on the grid. So, with 2 low grid positions staring him in the face and a retirement in this one, Giovinazzi
could be a weekend to forget for him.
Absolutely, and it's self-induced to an extent, certainly race 1.
And the point I was making right at the start of our programme is the margin he has at the top of the points is not huge. 182 to 166.5.
Exactly right. And Leclerc, the man who is second in the championship, is the leader of the race now.
Exactly.
So that incident couldn't have helped anybody worse from Giovinazzi's point of view, other than his main championship rival. So, over the timing line they come. We have done 15 laps. We're on the last one. And Charles Leclerc leads the way then as they work their way down towards La Source. We've got a minute and a half on the clock, so it will be the requisite number of laps. There's confirmation that we're on the last one. And Jake Dennis versus George Russell, Dave.
This could be fantastic, couldn't it? As George Russell can sniff the opportunity to move up a further place. Jake Dennis, as you said earlier, maybe it's a set-up thing or whatever, but you know, he certainly hasn't had the pace in the car, and George Russell will just try and find the potential to get past and move himself up from P6 to P5 as we watch Felix Rosenqvist. There is Alexander Albon, who is another one who has driven a storming race.
No question about that.
Actually, no, Ferrucci P4.
Yeah, I mean, Ferrucci again has done a solid job in this race. As also Sam McLeod, bear in mind he had a spin early on. He's recovered for a place in the top 10, and you only get points in the top 10. So to get in there is good for the British driver. 19th in the championship coming into this race. So Charles Leclerc leads the way. But in the first sector alone, Rosenqvist took 3/10 out of him. I'm not necessarily suggesting it's going to be a last last gasp effort at the bus stop, but the gap should come down. And then behind, look, you've got Albon third, Ferrucci is fourth. How's Albon getting on? He's lapping quicker than Rosenqvist, and Ferrucci is actually in the first sector quicker than the three ahead of him. So we're still
Ferrucci is looking...
Yeah, absolutely, still concertinaing up even on this last lap of the race. But Charles Leclerc is heading seemingly for a third victory of the season. And bear in mind, he was sixth on the grid. So he's not had this gifted to him. He's had to work pretty hard. We saw him do some overtaking. I know that to an extent he lucked into that lead, but he had already got past Rosenqvist. The pace was there.
And to be fair, he was there. He was able to luck into it.
I mean, he was the catalyst for it by attacking Rosenqvist and triggering all the moves. But round 13 of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship is going to be won by Van Amersfoort Racing and by Charles Leclerc. Last year, Van Amersfoort did 3 out of 3 with Max Verstappen. Race 1 is won by Charles Leclerc for Van Amersfoort ahead of Felix Rosenqvist second. Alex Albon takes third position. Really good drive by him. Santino Ferrucci fourth. Fifth, Jake Dennis. And George Russell sixth as the cars round La Source and then get waved straight towards the scrutineering area where the technical delegate Bob Bassett awaits. And the cars led to Parc Fermé by Charles Leclerc. Well, for my money, that was an absolutely stonking race. We were talking about how good Formula 3 can be at Spa. I don't think that disappointed at all, did it?
No, you're absolutely right. That was great, wasn't it? Discussions going on there. Ross in the Prema Power team.
I mean, they've got a second place from Rosenqvist, but Jake Dennis fifth. Something not right there. Definitely faded. And I think they are aware that they need to have a look at general setup before they get to race 2 later on in the day. Normally we have race 1 and then the qualifying session for races 2 and 3. The timetable here is different, so they've already had all the qualifying and now it goes race, race, race. So the only time they can next run the car is on the installation lap round to the grid. And Charles Leclerc's chassis, there it is the one that Max Verstappen used to win those 3 races here last year. So its 100% Spa record continues, and the value of it for a collector goes up as well, doesn't it?
As he crosses the checker flag, you can almost hear him saying thanks for it, can't you?
Exactly right.
Well, what a race, and bodes well for the next 2. Really looking forward to them already.
But a good drive by Charles Leclerc, and also good for the championship. Peppers things up a little bit. He stands atop the car.
And also, we must bear in mind that we were saying, you know, we had grave concerns about what the first lap was going to be like. But actually, bar 1 or 2 little mishaps, I think it was a fantastic race.
Yeah, driving standards...